two brothers, who once shared a bedroom at Kensington Palace, who walked side by side behind their mother's coffin in 1997, haven't stood in the same room together in years. This is the real, documented breakdown of the relationship between Prince William and Prince Harry, and in 2026, it's still nowhere near fixed. Let's get into what actually happened. Before the headlines, before the tabloids, William and Harry were famously close. After Princess Diana's death in 1997, the two boys leaned on each other in a way that outsiders could see even then. As young men, they shared flats, they served together in military circles, they founded the Invictus Games and the Royal Foundation together. For years, royal watchers described them as a genuine team, the pair who would modernize the monarchy side by side. That image didn't survive the 2010s. Royal biographers often point out that the two brothers were never really alike. William was raised from birth with the weight of the throne on his shoulders, trained, coached, and shaped for the role of heir. Harry grew up with more freedom, more room to be reckless, and by his own account, a lingering sense that he was defined by what he wasn't rather than by who he was. For a long time, that difference didn't matter. They were brothers first. It's only in hindsight that people started describing it as a fault line waiting to open. The strain reportedly began around 2018, when Harry married Meghan Markle. Royal commentators at the time pointed to friction over palace staff, over the pace of the wedding planning, and over Meghan's adjustment to royal life. Harry has said publicly that he felt his brother didn't do enough to defend Meghan against harsh press coverage in her early years as a royal. Then came a moment Harry later described in detail in his memoir, a physical altercation between the brothers in 2019, which Harry said left him with visible injuries. William has never publicly confirmed or denied the specifics. What's not in dispute is that by early 2020, the two men were barely speaking. That January, Harry and Meghan announced they were stepping back as senior working royals, a decision the press nicknamed Megxit. According to multiple royal biographers, William was reportedly blindsided by the announcement, learning key details close to the same time as the public. The brothers' Royal Foundation, once a joint venture, was formally split not long after. If 2020 was the split, 2021 and 2023 were when it became irreversible in the public eye. In March 2021, Harry and Meghan sat down with Oprah Winfrey for a globally watched interview.
But, my grandmother has been amazing throughout. My father, my brother, Kate, and all the rest of the family, they were really welcoming.
Your relationship with your father? Is he taking your calls now?
Yeah. He is. There's a lot to work through there. I feel really let down because he's been through something similar. He knows what pain feels like. My father and my brother, they are trapped. They don't get to leave. And I have huge compassion for that.
Harry described his relationship with his father and brother as being defined by space at the time, and spoke about feeling trapped by royal duty. The interview also included Meghan's account of a conversation about their unborn son's skin color, which the couple attributed to an unnamed family member, a claim that caused significant strain within the family, though it was never tied publicly to William specifically. Then in January 2023 came Spare, Harry's memoir. It became one of the fastest-selling nonfiction books in history, and it didn't hold back. Harry wrote about the 2019 physical altercation with William in detail. He wrote about feeling like the spare to William's heir from childhood. He described private conversations, arguments over Meghan, and moments of real tenderness too, but the book's most talked about revelations were the ones that painted William as cold, even aggressive at key moments. Royal experts widely agree that Spare marked the point where reconciliation became a genuinely difficult institutional problem, not just a family disagreement. As one royal broadcaster put it in recent coverage, William has been demonstrably against reconciling since the book's publication. The palace's response to all of this has been telling in its own way, near total silence. Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace have almost never issued direct rebuttals to specific claims in the interview or the book. Royal communications experts have suggested this is deliberate, Engaging publicly would only extend the news cycle and force the family to relitigate private matters in front of the world. But that silence has also meant the public has largely only heard one side of the story in detail, Harry's. Since the rift became public, William and Harry have appeared together exactly twice, at Prince Philip's funeral in April 2021 and at Queen Elizabeth II's funeral in September 2022. Photographers capture the brothers walking side by side behind their grandmother's coffin and briefly greeting mourners together outside Windsor Castle with their wives, Kate and Meghan. For a moment, it looked like a thaw. It wasn't. Royal sources have since described those funeral appearances as a truce for the cameras, rather than a genuine reset. The brothers reportedly have not appeared together publicly since. There's also a quieter factor that rarely gets its own headline: Catherine, Princess of Wales. Her own cancer diagnosis and treatment in 2024 reportedly reshaped William's priorities almost overnight.
Lots of people have asked me why I'm doing this challenge, and partly it's personal. I'm so grateful to be here, to be strong enough to walk these hills. But more importantly, it's to give something back and acknowledge really all the incredible work going on up and down this country. I've met some incredible people, those people who are living with and beyond cancer, and I know personally how difficult that journey is, and I really wanted to use this opportunity as my way of contributing to all the wonderful work that's going on, and in particular to support the Royal Marsden Cancer Charity, an organisation very dear to me, but who do extraordinary work supporting those living with and beyond the disease.
Multiple royal sources described him pulling back from public duties to focus on his wife and children during that period, and some commentators believe it also hardened his stance toward Harry. With his own family under real strain, William is said to have had even less patience for what he saw as the Sussex's public airing of private grievances. The rift has put King Charles in an increasingly difficult position, a father trying to hold two sons together while managing a health crisis. Charles was diagnosed with cancer in early 2024 and that diagnosis appears to have shifted the emotional stakes for everyone involved.
This is a season when our thoughts turn to celebrations with our friends and families. In the midst of this festive period, I just wanted to ask you to join me today in finding a special place in your hearts and your minds and prayers for the hundreds of thousands of people across our United Kingdom who receive a cancer diagnosis each year, and for the millions more who love and care for them. I know from my own experience that a cancer diagnosis can feel overwhelming. Yet I also know that early detection is the key that can transform treatment journeys, giving invaluable time to medical teams and to their patients the precious gift of hope. These are gifts we can all help deliver. Throughout my own cancer journey, I've been profoundly moved by what I can only call the community of care that surrounds every cancer patient. The specialists, the nurses, researchers and volunteers who work tirelessly to save and improve lives. But I have also learned something that troubles me deeply. At least 9 million people in our country are not up to date with the cancer screenings available to them. That is at least 9 million opportunities for early diagnosis being missed.
In a 2025 BBC interview, Harry said he didn't know how much longer his father had, and that he wanted reconciliation, but acknowledged his family might not be ready to forgive him.
In an extraordinary interview tonight, Prince Harry has spoken candidly about the breakdown of his relationship with his father and other members of the royal family. He says his father doesn't speak to him, but added he would love a reconciliation. The Prince gave an exclusive interview to the BBC hours after he lost his legal challenge about the level of security he receives when he's in the UK. His protection, funded by the taxpayer, was downgraded in 2020 after he stopped being a working royal. Prince Harry called today's court ruling an old-fashioned establishment stitch-up. Tonight, Buckingham Palace said all the issues had been examined meticulously by the courts.
Around the same time, reports emerged that Charles had been quietly working to reopen communication with Harry, even as William reportedly remained opposed. That effort has visibly continued into 2026. Earlier this month, King Charles met privately with Harry, Meghan, and their children, Archie and Lilibut, at Highgrove, reportedly without William's involvement or blessing. Sources describe the king as personally invested in reconnecting with his grandchildren, even while royal aides worked to keep the meeting out of the press. Notably, William was absent, which several commentators have read not as a coincidence, but as a deliberate signal that he isn't ready to take part. As of mid-2026, the picture is this: Harry has reunited, to some degree, with his father. He has not reunited with his brother. Royal watchers describe an ongoing blackout between William and Harry, with William reportedly telling those close to him that he doesn't trust Harry and isn't interested in a symbolic reconciliation just for the sake of public appearances. Some reports suggest Harry is actively trying to change that. He's said to be planning a tribute project tied to the 30th anniversary of Princess Diana's death, reportedly involving Meghan and a media partnership. But even that plan has become a point of tension. William is said to feel any major tribute to their mother should be organized through official royal channels, not a private production, given Diana's status as a former working member of the family. Royal commentators are largely in agreement on one point: real reconciliation between the brothers can't happen without William, since he's the future king, and any public thaw would have institutional consequences the palace can't fully control. Some experts believe a full reunion is unlikely before William takes the throne. Others believe Charles's health and the passage of time may eventually soften William's position, especially if it means his father gets to see both sons at peace before he doesn't have the chance. It's tempting to treat this as tabloid drama, but it's worth remembering what's actually at stake. This isn't just a family feud, it's a succession crisis playing out inside one of the world's oldest institutions. William will one day be king. Harry's children, and Harry himself, still hold royal titles. How, or if this rift gets resolved, will shape how the monarchy looks for the next generation. And underneath the palace statements and the tell-all books, it's still, fundamentally, A story about two brothers who used to be inseparable, and a relationship that broke under pressures most families never have to face in public. That's the real story behind William and Harry's fallout, as much as it can be told from the outside.